No man is more professional than I. I am a 1% man. I am not above or below any man. I'm training my mind. I'm building my body. I'm connecting to my soul. I'm investing my money. Welcome to the 1% Man podcast. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the 1% Man podcast. I have my good friend, Dr. Michael DeMarco here with me. So Dr. DeMarco is a brain performance coach, nationally recognized fitness expert, speaker, entrepreneur. He owns and has founded several seven-figure businesses. Dr. DeMarco, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm, excited to be here, excited to connect with you and just have a good conversation.
Yes, as well. So I was going to say, I appreciate everything you said before the show too, as well. We had a great conversation about money, about energy, about different types of money too. Dr. DeMarco was telling me that it's not just about money physically in your bank account, but about different currencies as well. So that's something I'm going to take to the bank. But for everybody, since you weren't there in our conversation before, before we get started on today's topic, Doc, I want to be able to ask you 3 questions so we can get to know you better. Is that cool?
Yeah, of course. 1,
what is your favorite question? What is your favorite color and why?
My favorite color? I like blue because I love the sky and I need the sun. Like the sun gives me power. The sun gives me energy. And right now, and I grew up in New Jersey. I still live in New Jersey. It's not always a very sunny place, but when the sun is out, I do feel more alive and like my cells just feel like better, right? Like we are beings that need the sun. So my favorite places in the world are like Arizona, California, Colorado, places where the sun is out most of the time because I just feel really good there. So, but my favorite color is blue because the sky when the sun is out is blue.
I love it. I was going to say blue is my favorite color as well. And I do love the sun. I'm not a fan of December or November or October just because like it's not as sunny out and it's not as hot for me. So number 2.
You like the heat?
Yes. Oh, I love the heat. Love the heat all the time. So number 2, what is one value you would teach all men in the world that would make it a better place for everyone?
Oh man, take responsibility for everything in your life. Like everything that's ever happened to you, everything you think has been out of your control, everything you think has been out of just based on circumstances, like you actually put yourself in those circumstances and in some way you can claim responsibility for it. And I think when we do that, we stop putting blame on others for things and we stop playing the victim in our lives and we actually become empowered to make the changes that we want to make and we need to make so we can better ourselves in a more holistic way.
Yes.
And have good relationships and just everything, attract the amount of money we need and have good health. It's just about being self-responsible.
I like that a lot. Taking responsibility for all the actions that's happened to you in your life, anything that's happened, any choices you've made, because that in turn, the minute you take that power back, now you can make the choices that you need to make because no one has the power over you anymore, essentially.
Right. Well, because they only had the power over you because you gave it to them. And it even comes down to like, growing up, like I was bullied in like middle school and high school, to the point where in middle school I had to switch schools because like I couldn't take it anymore. And was it my fault? I don't know, but I take responsibility for that because I just have to. And it made me a better person at the same time. And I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for those experiences. So yeah, even things that you think are not, you're not responsible for, just take responsibility for them.
I like that. I think that's something that we can all take to the bank. Number 3, if you had to choose another profession to be an expert in, what would it be and why?
I think right now what I do, it's not like super defined. Like, yes, I focus on the brain and I help people better their lives by utilizing their brain. Uh, but if I had to choose something else to do, maybe I would just be like an explorer of ancient history and relics and ideas. I kind of do that now. I like utilize it in my work, but um, I just love learning about where we came from, like where we really came from, not what we've been told, because it's showing us more and more and more um, how powerful and how much we're actually really capable of, and it's so much more than what we've been told and what we think we're capable of right now. So
So are you saying like an archaeologist then,
yeah, archaeologist, but maybe like a fringe archaeologist where I'm not like following the mainstream because I read it in a book and that's just how things are done, you know?
Yes.
Like I want to find Atlantis. I want to find like the lost civilizations that we think are myths, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Atlantis is real. That's a real place. It happened. I'm one of those. I'm just one of those people that do believe that it was there and that it's lost at sea. Right. That's what I think. But then again, everyone has their opinion, which I don't mind. But I do want to get into today's topic because that's something that I could definitely go down the rabbit hole with you on. So I know right now there's a trying time for a lot of people, and mentally it's a big time for a lot of people too as well. Stress, the pandemic, we have racial tension, we have diversiveness, we have a lot of things going on in America right now and in the world as well. We're all feeling the effects of it as well. And so a lot of people are looking forward to doing things, to executing, to moving. But because of all the stress that's going on the brain, even though that they want to do it, they can't do it. They don't feel like doing it. They don't feel like moving. They're really stuck in a place of maybe like a shutter shock, right? They want to move, but they can't. So with everything that you've been seeing going on, how do we start with getting kind of unstuck in our brains? So that way we can boost our brain power.
Yeah, I think the first place, most people think when they want to change the way they're thinking, they try to change actually the way that they're thinking. They try to think more positively and all that. But I really believe like the first place that we have to focus on is our biology and doing things to influence ourselves biologically. And that means what we do with our body and what we put in it. So what we put in it, like start cutting out the things that are going to cause inflammation in your body and cause brain fog. And maybe if you have an allergy to something that you don't really know about, find that out. Eat more in line with our biology as far as like where we came from, how we got here, how we evolved, evolutionary wise, ancestral wise. Eat closer to the earth, like food that's actually being raised the way it's supposed to be raised. Like if you're eating fruits and vegetables, like the most natural kind, like organic, and drink better water, like drink really high quality water, spring water, because all these things, they hold energy and they affect us on a biological level. They affect us on a chemical level, and they affect us on a energetic level. So once you start fixing your body function, you fix your gut, you fix your brain, reduce the inflammation, all of a sudden, or you start exercising, our brains start working better. So then we stop having as many negative thoughts. And that cloud, the brain fog, kind of lifts a little bit, right? And then we can see a more clear path. And at the same time, then we can start doing affirmations and we can start doing things that are going to help our mental focus. We can start learning about how to think differently, think bigger. But I really think it all begins with the biology and fixing ourselves on a physical level.
So starting with that biology, physical levels, really changing that body.
Because have you ever been sick? Like you have a stomach issue, you have food poisoning, like what are you thinking about?
How to get better.
That's it. You're just like, I want to die. Like I'm dying. Like I would rather be dead. Like I'm dying. Like how many people have said that when they have like a stomach flu or whatever? And that's number one, right? So if you're like, and that's the extreme example, but it happens to us on like on a subtle level. And we can't feel our brains. That's why when they do brain surgery, they do it while you're awake. They can do it while you're awake because you don't have sensory receptors like on your brain. You're not feeling your actual brain. So if you have inflammation, you have something chemically going on that's irritating your neurons and it's affecting the way that they're firing and wiring together. Like you can't actually feel it. So the way that you're going to notice it is by symptoms of what's going on in your world and how your brain is processing things and the thoughts you're receiving and the emotions that you're feeling.
I like what you're saying, but could you please break down inflammation? Because I know we're at that level, but I don't think all our listeners are at that level. So what is inflammation and why is it important to understand it?
Yeah, so inflammation is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the chemical reaction in our body when we have like an injury or something like that, where our body focuses, platelets and histamines and all these things, a little bit of swelling. So it can heal that area, increase blood flow, whatever. But what happens is sometimes on a systemic level throughout our entire body, we have a low level of that where it's like there's something not right. And our body thinks like it's in high alert. So it thinks that everything needs to be healed. And that creates interference between the messaging between our cells.
Man, so our cells can't communicate with each other.
They do all the time.
So, and they do that all the time. But when you have inflammation, the cells can't communicate with each other?
Yeah, it's just like a fog. Think of like a fog in between the cells and them communicating. And the messages aren't going to get through as clearly.
Nice. Okay. And that's the biggest thing that is really holding up everybody when in this day and age with the stress, with media, with the news. So first things first, we got to get our bodies right.
Yeah.
And you said something that was very interesting. You said we also have to drink, get high quality water. And you said spring water, is that the highest quality water? And I've also learned about alkaline water. So what is the difference between like spring water, alkaline water? And in your opinion, why is, I guess, spring water a higher quality water?
I mean, alkaline is just describing the pH of the water, okay? So like anything above a pH of 7, because water, like neutral water is like 7. We've learned that in like basic science school is alkaline water. So you see these waters with like pH of 9 or 8 or 10 or whatever. And that has to do with the mineral content of the actual water. So a lot of spring water is alkaline, not alkaline water is spring water. A lot of alkaline water is just purified tap water, which is fine. Like if that's all you can get, make sure it's purified because, and it has minerals in it. That's what would make it alkaline. So that way it doesn't have because our water is kind of like regular water is kind of gross because we have chemicals in it. We have pesticides, we have antibiotics, like all of these things in our drinking water that actually affect us in a negative way. And spring water is kind of like protected from that, especially it's from like an underground aquifer, where it's protected from the elements and it's not contaminated by like our human society. So spring water is a little better in that aspect, but also spring water is moving, and movement in the water, which is the difference between the purified water, structures the water. And when you have structured water, it's organized water, and that water actually holds information. And that information and highly organized structured water, imagine like snowflakes are highly organized structured water where they're like beautiful, right?
Yes.
And that actually holds information and tells our cells something different than unorganized, unstructured water. And you could feel the difference. Like you feel energized. And our bodies itself is our structured water. Like proteins and fat and all these things organize and structure the water within our body, within our cells, and also in between the cells, we have the extrastitial fluid. So we're just like basically just giant structured water on that level. And the better information that we can put into our bodies, the better we're going to feel, the healthier we're going to be.
Wow.
And the healthier we are, the better our brain works and the better thoughts and feelings we have.
Exactly. So I was going to say, it's crazy because we've always been taught that if you are stressed or something's going on, we've always heard the phrase like, to change your life, change your thinking, and we've always heard that quote, right? But what you just said is like completely throwing that out the window and saying that first we first have to start looking at our biology and then drinking better water, especially spring water, because spring water holds information, and that information tells our body like, hey, we want to be healthier, we want to be moving, we want to have more energy, and that's what happens. And after that, what are we doing next? Now we're moving, now we're taking care of our biology, we're drinking great water. What's the next step?
I mean, I just want to like reiterate this point though, because I think a lot of people experience this. So people drink alcohol, they like use drugs and to achieve a different state of mind, or they'll drink coffee, and all of a sudden their thoughts and their feelings are different because they affected their body on a biological level in a different way. It's not that the thoughts went away, they just started receiving and thinking different thoughts. And so a lot of people end up abusing it because they don't learn how to get to that state biologically without the substance, which is totally actually possible, even better than without the substance. So working on yourself, biology, giving yourself the right fuel, doing the right things with it. So the next thing would be doing the right things with your body. And number one would be learning how to breathe, right? Most people don't learn how to breathe. Like, it's the first thing that we do when we're born, and I've heard this other places. First thing that we do when we enter this world, and it's the last thing we do when we leave. When we're put on life support, they don't pump blood through our body. They put us on a ventilator, a respirator, and they help us breathe. That's what life support is. It's literally putting life through your body, which is breath. And in a lot of ancient tradition, like ancient cultures, it's called the prana and all these other things, and they're referring to the breath, and that's life. So the first thing we have to do is learn how to breathe mechanically in the right way, from our diaphragm, not from our chest. And we breathe most people breathe in the opposite way. They breathe from their chest and their accessory muscles. And that actually signals a stress response. And you're telling your body, you're telling your brain that you're stressed out. So you go into fight or flight, you activate your sympathetic nervous system, and you're no longer resting and relaxing.
Hold on. So now you're you just took me out. I didn't even know life support was just breathing. Second thing, now you're saying we have to learn how to breathe from our diaphragm. So are you meaning like in the nose, out the mouth, or in the mouth, out the nose? Or is there something like a special technique or
so breathing in through your nose can stimulate the diaphragm, but it's really belly breathe, like breathing from your belly. Breathing from the diaphragm, which is, this, for people that aren't familiar with anatomy, this giant muscle underneath your lungs that actually is the main driver of inflating and deflating your lungs. And most people, they use it because you wouldn't be able to breathe without it, but they use it less and less. And especially if you become overweight, there's obstruction. If you're pregnant, there's obstruction. If you're sitting a lot, there's an obstruction. And then we develop this negative pattern where if you tell most people to breathe in, unless they played like sports or played an instrument or something, has some training in this way, a singer, they'll breathe through their chest, and their chest will expand and their stomach won't move at all, and their shoulders will move up. And that's actually an accessory breathing pattern that when our diaphragm becomes fatigued, or we need a little bit of that extra oxygen because we're running away from the lion, then we use that pattern. But most people stay stuck in that pattern, and it's signaling to their brain that there's something actually negative that they should be aware of going on, and they become stressed out and they don't even know why. And you notice when people are stressed or they're happy, you can see it in their breathing patterns change. But we can consciously change our breathing patterns so we can de-stress our nervous systems. And there's other things that breathing can do, like taking in a deep breath, a really, really deep breath, and stretching out the alveoli, which are the little sacs that exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide inside of your lungs. That also stimulates a different response to your brain to kind of calm down. So there's many things you could do with breathing. You could change CO2 levels and that sort of thing, which will stimulate another response. And there's a wide range of breathing techniques, but on a super basic level, just like getting your mechanics of breathing right, where you're breathing through your diaphragm, put a hand on your stomach and one hand on your chest, and make sure that when you breathe in, your stomach is rising. And when you exhale, your stomach is going in. And practice that.
So is that similar to the high that people get when they're meditating? Is that from that deep belly breathing, or is that completely different?
So it depends on what kind of meditation you're doing. Really, the meditative state, the flow state, and the deeper states, or that's a brainwave change, right? But you can stimulate that change using your breathing. So your body doesn't work in separateness; it works as a whole. So everything is supporting each other. So you have to work with the whole thing, the whole body. And like, even though I do brain stuff, like I don't just focus on the brain. There's other parts of our body that are our brains. We have our heart, which is a brain. Like it has 100,000 neurons, and they send more information to your brain than your brain sends to your heart. Our gut. A lot of people have heard of the second brain as our gut.
Yes.
Literally has like these bunches of neurons, which are called ganglia, and they make up and together form like a brain in your gut. And it can think for itself, and it can tell your body things, and your body tells it things. So it's all connected, and we have other brains too, like wherever these groups of neurons are. Some are more powerful than others, but they're all important. They're all not more important than the other. They all work together. So,
man, this is super fascinating. But I know time is winding down. But I want to ask, cleaning up the gut then, in response to stress, how do we clean the gut up, and what effect will it have on our stress and on our lives?
For me, I like when I work with my clients. It's not about doing probiotics. It's not about any of that stuff.
Okay.
It's really about really fasting, right? So doing a prolonged fast will help kind of reset your gut, give it a break. It'll help you strengthen your mind because you're doing something you didn't think was even possible. And it'll also start reorganizing yourself on a cellular level. Get rid of some junk, get rid of stuff that you don't need anymore. Make room for the new, for the nice stem cells and everything. And it just works on like a multi-dimensional way. It depends how long you fast and everything like that. And I totally recommend doing it under guidance or talking to somebody, an expert about it. But that'll help you clean up your gut, and it'll also get you more into fat burning mode, more into ketosis. So then you have, and it'll break a lot of habits that you have about eating certain foods, sugar habit, right? That sort of thing. And then you have the opportunity after that to start eating in a more appropriate way that supports you.
Sweet. I love that you said fasting. How long should a typical person fast? And then should that be like, when you're saying prolonged fasting, 24, 48 hours, or are we talking like 6, 7 hours? How's that work?
I would say start with like an intermittent fasting where you're doing like a 16-8 window. And if you want to like record it, there's apps on it. There's an app that I use sometimes called Zero. It's like the most popular app in the App Store for fasting. And there's a free version, a paid version. You just need the free one. And I would start there. Start with a 16-8 window, skipping breakfast or skipping dinner. Skip one of the meals and go from there. And then maybe try a 24-hour once. Occasionally, you can do a little bit longer, like a 72 to 40 to a 5-day. And that's when you really start testing yourself. But that's where I would start.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's baby steps, right? Like it's all about getting to the next point and like rewarding yourself for getting to that point.
So start small and then work your way up. So
like the first time that I did a 5-day fast, I started with 24 hours and then I was like, all right, I feel all right. And then I just kept going, went to 48. And then I was like, okay, I feel okay. And I gave myself the space to do it. And I didn't give myself a restriction of like, all right, I have to do this. But I just kept checking in. And I ended up going 5 days. So got to listen to your body.
How did you feel after that 5 days though?
I felt great.
What benefits did you have from going that far, going that long?
I mean, the most pronounced benefit of doing something like that is the mental benefit. like that you just showed yourself that you could do something that everyone tells you is impossible. And you're like, you'll die if you don't eat. You tell yourself that. If you don't go, especially me coming from like the bodybuilding background, supplement space, eating, like the fitness magazines and all the experts tell you got to eat every 2-3 hours or your body's going to go starvation mode and you're going to catabolize yourself and you're going to lose all your muscle. And the science is showing us that like that's actually not true. And then my own experience showed me like that actually isn't true. And if you look at our ancestors, they showed us that that's not actually true. If you look at hunter-gatherer societies, like it's actually the opposite. So we have to do things that are more in line with our biology and more in line with nature, even though the world that we live in is not totally natural. But we lived in that way for hundreds of thousands and millions of years. And that's why we feel so out of disharmony when we violate that.
I'm loving what you're saying. So I just want to recap this as well. I know time is winding down. So first and foremost, we got to change our biology, and that comes with breathing a lot better. Learning how to breathe from our diaphragm, and even practicing that as well. And then from there, we want to drink better water, spring water, because it's structured water and it holds information, which tells our body, hey, we're trying to get healthy. We want to be better. Help us out here. And then last but not least, fasting too as well. And then also eating foods that are close to the earth. Is that it, or am I missing anything?
I mean, that's like the basics. And obviously we can do like a podcast on each and every one of those like little nuances. But like basic terms, all this information is out there. People can compile it themselves. There's YouTube, there's Instagram, there's Google, and it can be confusing, but keep it simple. Like if it sounds confusing, then it's probably not, first of all, not coming from an expert, because if they really knew it, they wouldn't make it confusing for you. They would know how to explain it in a very simple way. And life is not meant to be confusing. Life is not meant to be complex, even though it is complex. Like our part of our brain that operates in that world, the complex world, it's not the conscious mind. Like we don't have to think about the complex things. They take care of themselves. The part of our mind that they're aware of, that's about solving the simple problems, just like guiding the ship in a way.
Man, Dr. DeMarco, I wish I had more time to like dive into each and everything that you're saying. But we're definitely going to have you back on. But before we go, I want to give you the last word. This is where our guests are able to share something with our listeners that they believe like everyone should know, or something that's just on your heart that you want to share real quick before we go.
Well, I think everybody should know that it's more than just listening to what I'm saying or reading something in a book, right? You have to go and have a direct experience of those things so you really know it. So you really know how powerful you are. So you really know how much you're actually capable of. And so you really know that the only truth in the world, that the only truth that there is that our potential is limitless, and including yours, including every single person that's listening to this, no matter how limited they might feel. So,
ultimate last words right there with Dr. Michael DeMarco. I thank you so much, Doc, for coming on. And my brother, I want to thank you again for listening. And until next time, your legacy starts today.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for.
Thank you, my friend, for tuning into today's episode. This means so much to us over here at the 1% Man community. Now, we want to extend a hand of gratitude to you. So I have a free gift for you. All you have to do is go to www.the1percentman.com/podcast gift. This is an exclusive gift for listeners that tune into our podcast. So go over there, get that free gift as well. And now I have two simple acts of you. One, hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment and a 5-star review, because that helps us to see what you love about the podcast, and that helps us to bolster up in the rankings so more people can find us and listen to this pertinent information that we have for men of today's age. Last but not least, I want you to go back and listen to this podcast. Find just one thing that you can implement in your life today so you can move forward. Remember, progress over perfection. And till next time, my friend, your legacy starts today.